Today's episode of Ham Radio 2.0 is brought to you by Arden, the Amateur Radio Emergency Data Network. The Amateur Radio Emergency Data Network is an open-source project that brings emergency communications into the 21st century. With easily available commercial equipment, you can build a low-cost, high-speed network. Visit the Arden website at www.arden.org for more information. Arden branded equipment labels, embroidered patches, and apparel are available on the website by clicking on the Shop menu button.
Okay, Ham Radio 2.0 episode Something in the Future, recorded from the Green Country Hamfest in April of 2017. This episode is a forum I recorded at the Hamfest for an overview of digital modes, given by Matt Harker, KC5DBH, Kilo Charlie 5 Delta Bravo Hotel. And it's similar to other talks I've done before, other forums I've recorded before. I did one at Orlando Hamcation in February, and the guy who gave that one was talking about differences in DMR, D-Star, and Fusion. This one, put on by KC5DBH, has, well, it's from a different viewpoint, and that's always a good thing, to get more than one viewpoint and have more well-rounded facts, not just one-sided stories. But Matt actually incorporates P25 and NXDN into his presentation, and he talks about DMR, D-Star, Fusion, P25, and NXDN, all five of them. He touches on IDAS as well, which is ICOM's version of NXDN, and apparently NXDN and IDAS are compatible with one another and will talk to one another. I did not know that, because I've never used it in either one of those digital modes. But Matt had mentioned that in his forum presentation, this on this that I recorded just now, and that's good information. See, so you learned something new, and I really like the fact that he incorporated P25 into it, because we've actually got a couple of P25 repeaters in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I know of at least two more that are going online soon. Most of them are UHF. I think there's one VHF and like two UHF up right now, and the two new ones that are going up soon will be UHF as well. So let's take a look at this forum presentation about an overview of digital voice modes in amateur radio, recorded at the Green Country Hamfest, April 2017. If you like this video, you'd like to see other videos like it, head over to my website, hamradio2.com, and you can support me by clicking on the PayPal link on the right-hand side. You can also go to patreon.com/hamradio, and you can support me by making regular contributions to keep this show up and going, keep it on the air, help pay for travel expenses, etc. 73 guys, and I hope you enjoy the episode.
All right. My apologies, folks, for a little bit of disorganization. I knew better than to come without VGA capabilities and the Macintosh. Nice computer, but some days he doesn't have quite the functionality I need. Anyway, never mind that. My name is Matthew Harker, KC5DBH. I am the one who runs the Rose repeater 146985, so it works great. If it works good, then direct all the accolades to me, and if it doesn't work, I get the blame for that too. So anyway, today's presentation is entitled Digital Voice Modes in Amateur Radio. This is not going to be an in-depth discussion as to bits and bytes, data headers, packets, and that kind of thing. What it is an awareness level forum or presentation to kind of get everybody, maybe clear up some of the fog concerning things like DMR, C4FM, D-Star, and all that. We'll start off. All right, so what is digital voice and why are we doing it? This is ham radio. We're a bunch of ham operators. We love to experiment and tinker with things. Yes, sir?
So maybe if we put the floodlights out?
You bet. I will give it a try. Well, I guess I will find the other light switch wherever it went. Or that may be it.
Another one around the corner?
No, it's a plug-in.
That's a phone socket for something. Okay.
Back there?
Hey, some of these lights may be forced on. I don't. There we go. Okay. Very good. Is everybody comfortable with the lighting? Do we need to add any?
That'll work.
Okay. Anyway, what is digital voice? Why are we doing it? We're ham operators. We love to experiment with things. We love to tinker with things. And if we can't open the lid on it and sometimes let out the proverbial smoke, then we're sometimes not happy. Digital voice offers a far better signal to noise ratio over a further distance. With analog, you can tell the gradual degradation as you get further and further out. With digital, it's there. It's solid. As long as the receiver can get a solid copy on the transmitter, no matter how noisy, you're going to have a perfect output. But once that receiver loses that solid copy, you're done. It's out of there. Digital voice also provides the opportunity to embed identifiers and other data streams into the voice stream, things like GPS data, call signs, various things like that, radio IDs. Various types of digital voice that's in use right now, and this isn't a comprehensive list. Yaesu System Fusion, that's one that's been on the a big one on the market right now. APCO Project 25, that's been around for quite a few years. Public safety and government likes to use that. DMR, digital mobile radio, this is a it's kind of a relatively new one. It's probably been around, I don't know, I'm going to guess about 10 years. D-Star, ICOM's D-Star system, that's been around for quite a while. And down at the bottom is NXDN and IDAS. They are sister technologies. Kenwood and ICOM are in on that one. If it's a Kenwood product, it's known as Kenwood NexEdge, NXDN. And if it's an ICOM product, then it's ICOM's, I think, Digital Advanced or Advanced Digital System. Anyway, they're compatible with the two. So if you got a NexEdge and an IDAS radio, they will talk to each other. And then there's some others. There's various other types out there. Starting with System Fusion, it supports both analog and digital operation. Generally, it uses a 9600 bit per second data stream. You program your call sign into your radio when you set it up. You program your call sign into your radio, and the call sign transmits continuously while the radio's transmitter is active, and that's either in full rate voice, which is VW for full rate voice, and DN, which is half rate voice, half rate data. And your GPS coordinates also transmit right along with it. So what you'll see on your Fusion radio when you're catching an incoming digital signal, you're going to see the call sign of the transmitting station. You will see the call sign of the repeater station. It'll be given a /R, such as at Fairland, we've got the W0 GMM repeater. So what you're going to see, if I'm talking to you, you're going to see my call sign, and up at the very top in small print, you'll see W0 GMM/R, and then you'll also, if your GPS is active on your radio and has good view of the satellites on yours and on the transmitting station, then you'll see the distance between the two stations. And that's between the two terminal radios that are communicating. It has nothing to do with the repeater. The repeater is transparent and simply passes the information that it's given. Some neat little things like that.
Will the repeater show you, will you be able to see the distance from you to the repeater on your radio too?
No, because the repeaters don't have GPS functionality on them. Yeah. Yeah, they don't. The Fusion repeater is not provided with that, even though it is a couple of FTM 400 mobiles that are factory modified mobiles, but they don't have the GPS functionality on them. They may offer that in a later version. All right, 3 modes of operation with the System Fusion. You've got your standard analog FM, then you've got DN, which is a half rate voice, half rate digital, and then you've got VW, which is full rate voice. And there is a full rate. Let's stay with that. Anyway, FM, analog FM, narrow or wide. We set them to wideband mode. You can set them to narrowband. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's probably not going to work with most repeaters because they haven't been set up for the 12.5K narrow channels. It can be done. That's option of the repeater operator if they want to do that. I didn't do that with Fairlander, and I don't know of anybody else that's doing that with any repeaters. So just whatever the repeater operator wants to do is what you do there. Most times it's going to be wide. DN, half rate voice, half rate data, so that's where your voice and GPS signals are coming across. VW, which is full rate voice, uses the entire 9600 bit stream. There's no data going with that, so you're not going to see your GPS. You should see call signs on there, if I remember right. Most of the time when we're running digital voice at Fairland, it's just going to be half rate anyway. Modulation type is C4 FM. We'll go into that here in just a little bit. The pros with System Fusion, automatic mode switching is a really big plus with the System Fusion system. And it's indicated by a bar over the mode indicator. So you'll have bar FM or bar VW or VW bar DN. And that bar means, that horizontal bar means that you have your automatic mode switching active on there. Another pro, your call sign transmits with your voice in digital mode. And as I mentioned, the physical distance between the transmitting and receiving station is given down to the tenths of a mile. And the repeater call sign displays when using a Fusion repeater in digital mode. There is a camera microphone that's available for the capture and transmission of images. It works nicely. I got a deal on one of those here recently, and they work very well. The color display on the FTM400 yields a fairly nice photograph. You're only talking 320 by 160 or 320 by 160 resolution. It's not real good, but it actually gives a fairly nice color image. On the FT2DR, I've seen a few of those floating around. Those are monochrome displays, and they do give a decent photograph on there. I mean, it's monochrome, but it's good. You also got things like APRS are available with System Fusion, and you've got a group monitoring function. So if you've got a group of hams and you want to set that up to where you can keep track of each other and the radios ping each other, then you can actually keep up with your crew. All right, the cons with System Fusion. It is a beta product. Yaesu will tell you that this is a beta product, and it's a beta product that works very well, as a matter of fact. A lot of updating going on with it, so bear with them. Linking as far as digital linking appears to be restricted to Wires X, Yaesu and their Wires X system right now. That's something I haven't really investigated because the repeater sites I have, internet service is not available for the repeater. Got slow data speeds, and you're limited to 9600 baud, so it's not going to be useful for a real quick transfer of files. I took pictures with my camera mic the other day, and it was about 1 or 2 minutes for it to send the file completely. Firmware updating is challenging, but not impossible. Okay. The FT991 is a breeze to update. You plug in the USB cable and go. If you have an FT2DR like I do, there's several steps to it. Button presses and all. If you have the FTM400, then you have to open the lid on it. And the repeater, the DR1X, you have to open the lid on that too. It's about 15 or 20 screws come out of it. So it's a challenge, but it's not impossible to do. The main thing is have a stable computer system and follow the instructions with correct cabling, and you should be successful. Repeater design, it's okay, but it needs a lot of work. We've had pretty good luck with the DR1X that we're running at Fairland. It tends to get hot, but that's also a building ventilation problem, and I also found out that the external power amp's at running 125 watts output. So two things that I will change there. I'm going to lower that power and also ventilate the building a lot better than what it is. Okay, Fusion repeaters. And these are ones I know of. Okay. This is going to change pretty quickly. I mean, there's more coming on, and some may have changed. We got the 147285 It's covering Grove and South Grand Lake, but it's actually closer to Fairland than it is Grove, and there's only 10 miles between the two. 147, 210 at Joplin. I understand there may be some issues with that repeater. I don't know. Tahlequah, both of the N5 NRL repeaters. I know for sure 2.4 is running, 147, 2.4 is running Fusion because I'm close enough to it that I can activate it. 442, 225 is also listed at Tahlequah, as is 443.075 at Veneta. Bartlesville, Johnny, we talked about some changes this morning.
That is correct. Right?
That one is correct, okay.
No, wait, 147, 145, 270.
One,
It's a Fusion.
27, 145, 27 at Bartlesville is the Fusion, so that Bartlesville listing is incorrect. I need to change that. 44435, is that correct? Okay. 145, 290 at Centerton, Arkansas is running Fusion. I know for a fact I'm able to nail that one. 147, 135 at Fayetteville is listed. And I don't know, I don't get over to the Metroplex that often. And then 146, 610 at Coffeyville is listed, and I don't have any way to, I can't get into that one from my home at Rose, Oklahoma.
I've been told they don't run that in this.
Okay, they're not running, there's just FM only? Okay, so we can scratch Coffeyville for Fusion, it's just going to be an FM only. APCO 25, the next one up. And this was designed for public safety. This is about a roughly 30-year-old technology. It is usable for ham radio. There are people that are doing it. And there's actually a network out there that some people are doing some networking with it, but there's not a whole lot of talk groups active right now. Mostly, I think it's just kind of a nationwide talk group or two. APCO 25 supports both voice and data. It uses the C4 FM modulation, and it's available to many, many manufacturers. Basically, anybody that wants to pay the licensing fees to Digital Voice Systems Incorporated can use it. There was 3 phases of it. We'll go over this real quick. Phase 1 is digital voice, trunked or conventional. Rumor mill has it. City of Tulsa's fixing to convert over to phase 1 with their 800 meg trunking system. Phase 2 is a trunked format, and it offers 2 communication slots. City of Broken Arrow is alleged to be running phase 2 on their system down there when they're not doing open sky with the Harris system. Phase 3 has not been implemented. It was a high-speed data transfer protocol. But again, this is 30-year-old technology, and this came before the cellular companies got so widespread, and now I think pretty much public safety's kind of just paying the cellular bill and be done with that. I don't know if phase 3 will ever happen or not. It may, and it may happen with some agencies anyway. The pros of APCO 25, it's a real robust standard. Low bit error rate. BER is something you'll see with digital equipment. That's the standard by which we measure the signal and equipment quality. If it has a low bit error rate, less than 1%, then we're happy with it. If it gets higher than that, then we're starting to look at problems with the signal path, with the receiver, quality of, what's going on that's got this thing such a ratty signal that it's not getting a good bit error rate. FEC is another term you'll see, forward error correction, and that's the ability of the receiving station to yes, sir.
Are you back?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I was trying to find Gary Table with the 3 radios, and I can't
Echo.
find the table.
Echo 29 and Echo 30.
Echo 29, Echo 30. What table row is that?
I think the 3rd or 4th.
Up here?
Back in the back corner over there.
Back
Yeah.
in front. Okay, I'm
You bet.
every tab. Okay.
All right. The equipment, let's see, forward error correction, that's the ability of the receiving station to correct any bad packets. If some kind of interfering signal maybe corrupted one of the packets, then forward error correction is the method by which the receiver is able to rebuild that packet and then give an accurate decoding of the signal. Robust equipment, the stuff's pretty stout. Most of those radios are fairly hardcore. They're fairly rugged. The portables, mobiles, repeaters, the whole 9 yards. I carried a Motorola Quantar into the 985 site, and it pretty much, I got a workout trying to balance it on one hand while I'm stabbing screws with the other. Portables are heavy duty. Mobile radios are liable, some of them about pull the dashboard off your car if you try to mount them that way. As we mentioned, 30 years of development. APCO 25 supports the use of talk groups and things like that. It doesn't transmit your call sign per se. It transmits a numeric ID. So you have to build alias lists in your radios, kind of like the DMR folks are doing, and they've done on a national basis. So you have to build that alias list. That's one of the cons. Whereas Fusion, you just put your call sign in the radio and it goes. IP linking, Internet Protocol linking is available if you want to spend the time and resources to link your repeater system, over Internet Protocol. Go for it. They do have a national network that's going for P25 for ham radio. Receivers automatically detect the current modulation. P25 radios typically run in mixed mode, but you can lock them down to digital or analog. You can lock them down to digital only. The cons of it, expensive. They are supremely expensive. Prices on used P25 gear, you can get them for as little as $300 to $500 on online, eBay, and other places like that. And they're legit radios. They're just older units that have been put out of service by the parent agency. Linking is kind of limited with them. It's structured. I mean, it's not limited to the point it's not usable. It's just structured. So you can't just throw something together. The radio IDs, as talked about, the alias list, they've got to be associated with a call sign, and this has to be done in every radio. So you program an alias list into each terminal radio. Terminal is a term we see with P25. When I'm talking about a terminal radio, I'm talking about the mobile, the base station, the portable that's being carried. Or subscriber radio, sometimes they call it. For the terminal radios, there's no automatic mode switching for the transmitter, so you have to program 2 channels. You'll have an analog and then a digital channel for transmitting. And I have been known to mess up and answer in digital. I run my receivers in mixed mode. Somebody will call me on the 985 in analog, and my absent-minded self will pick up the mic and talk back to them in P25 digital. And they say the roaring's rather interesting when they hear that digital roar going. And when you do hear the digital roar on a Fusion or DMR or P25 repeater, it's not, the repeater hadn't lost its mind. It's actually working like it's supposed to. The radios for P25 generally require a PC to program them. Okay, Windows, or you can do it on a Macintosh, but you have to run Windows emulators on the Macs to do it. And if your radio programs by USB, they typically play better with the Macs than if they don't. The later model Harris equipment you can program just fine with a Mac. It did kind of start a fight with the Motorola XTS 5000 that I tried it just to see what it would do. The XTS 5 is a great radio. I've got one of them, but it doesn't typically like the Windows emulators. The XTL 5000 program, I think if I had the USB program cable for the XTS 5, it would probably be fine, because his mobile cousin loved it, with the USB cable. Some of the radios are front panel programmable. If you see that term FPP, that's front panel programmable. There are quite a few of those running around, and they usually came from U.S. Forest Service or U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Federal firefighters, those agencies typically require FPP for their operations. Known P25 repeaters in the area, the 145.35 at Joplin works, I know for sure, and then there's the 985 at Rose, and then 444.8 at Fort Gibson is listed as a P25. I don't know if it works or not. I haven't tried to nail it with a UHF. I've got one P25 mobile that's UHF, and it's rolled up in the house right now. So I don't know if that one's actually working or not. DMR, this is the one that's got real popular. And Johnny, if I mess anything up, feel free to correct me. This guy is a god when it comes to DMRs. It's a business radio solution supporting both voice and data. It supports talk groups, and it is linkable. And there's quite a bit of it going on. The latest rendition, I'm told, is the brand Meister system is the primary system that's being used for linking. And then there's DMR Mark, which was the previous system, and the Mark, M-A-R-C, stands for Motorola Amateur Radio Club. They're very supportive of amateur radio. You can log in to the brand Meister server by way of the internet and hear every conversation that the system's processing. Pick the talk group. You want to pick this area, you can hear it. If you want to pick the national, you can hear it. If you want to pick a talk group in New Jersey, New York, California, wherever, you can dial in and hear it. Yep. You bet. You can pick which one you want. DMR uses the 4 FSK, that's 4-level frequency shift keying modulation, which is the basis of the C4 FM, which is 4-layer quadrature FM. 4 FSK is the basis of, but it is not C4 FM. I want to say I've seen some DMR stuff that was talking about C4 FM, but again, if you want to know about all that ins and outs, you can find somebody who knows more about it than I do. We got rather extensive use of DMR by the ham radio community. DMR stands for Digital Mobile Radio. It has European roots, and it is available to many, many manufacturers. Kenwood, I think ICOM's got some stuff out for, or do they? I know Kenwood does. Motorola, obviously the big player. Duet Connect Systems, Hytera, Tate, TYT, quite a few options. Yep. Connect Systems there. Quite a few options for it. Let's see here. The pros of it, it's very robust equipment, a good quality codec or good standard with low bit error rate, good 4 error correction. Internet protocol linking is available, much lower cost than P25 gear. P25 stuff, anywhere from 500 to 5,000. This stuff averages what? Anywhere from about 200 for the Connect systems or a little less.
TYT MD3A is $100.
$100, there you go. So anywhere from about 100 up to maybe $800. Some of the radios allow front panel programming. The cons with it, really not too many. The cost is going to be higher than a standard ham radio, or used to be. Obviously, that line's almost nearly invalid because the price has really come down on the TYTs and Connect systems. So really, cost is not even an issue anymore. Linking, I termed it as limited. It is structured. I mean, you do have to register. If you buy a DMR radio and you've never had one, you've got to associate your radio with your call sign. So anyway, but it's not hard. I signed up, helped W0GMM sign up for a couple of IDs. It was very easy on the DMR Mark website, very painless, no cost, no nothing. So, yes.
16 per IP address. Then they have to spin off another IP address. And right now we have 24 in Oklahoma.
24 IPs in Oklahoma?
24 DMR repeaters.
Okay, 24 repeaters.
When we hit 17, we had to spin off a new IP address.
Okay. 16 repeaters and and then you have to spin off to another IP.
That threw for a loop when it went to number 17.
I bet it did. With some of the older codecs and equipment, there was some issues with poor sound quality. You're not going to have that nowadays. So nowadays the equipment's sounding really good. Just like say log into brand Meister, you can hear it for yourself. Sounds really, really good. Numerous DMR repeaters are on the air. I didn't try to list them all. You can find them on ORSI's website, Oklahoma Repeater Society Incorporated, repeaterbook.com, and ArtSci or artscipublications.com, and then the ARRL repeater directory are all good resources for that. D-Star, been around quite a while. It is digital, stands for Digital Smart Technologies for Amateur Radio, developed by the Japan Amateur Radio League, designed specifically for ham radio. Linking is available, but somewhat proprietary. I've done a little reading. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but it can be done. I'm understanding there's some D-Star traffic here in the Tulsa metropolitan area. I haven't had any experience with it, so linking is done via Gateway version 2 software, and registration on the U.S. Trust server requires or did require a computer running Linux. I've had experience with Linux machines. They are fun to work with. Very open source rig. Voice and data traffic are supported, 3600 baud or 3.6K per second. I'm telling the story now. How about 3.6 kilobits per second? On 1.2 gigahertz, you can get up to 128K data transfer speeds. D-Star uses GMSK, which is Gaussian minimum shift keying, and it's an older method of transmitting digital signals. And I'm not going to try to explain it. I don't understand all that stuff. If I was a software engineer, that would be different. In the USA, D-Star has been largely confined to ICOM products, although Kenwood does have a new radio out that supports D-Star. And the Flex Radio 6300, 6500, and 6700 series radios are also making use of it. There is a neat little receiver out from AOR, known as the AR, that's Alfa Romeo Delta Victor 1 digital receiver. That neat little receiver is capable of analog. Does Kenwood's NexEdge, D-Star, DMR, a couple of flavors of DMR, does P25, and it's a very capable receiver, but it is not a scanning receiver. It doesn't play well as a scanner at all. It's simply a high-end communications receiver, which does the usual AM, FM, CW, sideband, all that, and in addition to the digital modes. Expense is a factor with D-Star. It depends on what you're doing. I think the radios are pretty reasonable. The repeaters were pricey. I remember pricing one of those several years back, and they are kind of pricey, but what repeater isn't? D-Star repeaters, these are pulled from listings. There's a couple at Veneta and then at least 2 here in Tulsa. Merlin, how many are there in the Tulsa area now? D-Star machines that are known to be running.
I'm not even sure 443 is still there.
Okay.
It's never really caught on in this area.
Okay.
West of I-35, it's a lot more popular.
They're using it out western Oklahoma quite a bit.
Let's just say I-35 is kind of dividing line. Over here is DMR.
Right.
Over there is more D-Star.
D-Star.
Some of both places. I know that 443.0, they're having trouble maintaining an internet connection.
Okay.
They kind of gave up on the project.
Ah. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I don't have high speed. I got high-speed internet, but the cellular company has it all out in my neck of the woods. So.
That's one thing over here. The DMR guys were able to get a free internet connection through one of the colleges.
Right.
They spread it around on 5 gigahertz to their sites.
There you go. Yeah, we've got fiber in the ground out in the piney woods, but it's usually going to the cell towers. They're about the only ones that can afford to pay the bill for it. So We're slowly working it. Our co-op, electric co-op out of Anita. Yes, sir.
I remember back years ago, I lived up in Maine, this little town of Danforth. I think it was 2001. They were one of the first little towns to get fiber internet. And then when you hit, you type in a web page, you hit enter.
It's there. Yeah. We're getting there. The Northeast Co-op out of Anita is doing fiber optic, but we're probably 5 years out in southern Delaware, 2 to 5 years out in southern Delaware County where I live at. So thankfully Verizon has unlimited data service now along with some other providers. AT&T is another big one in my area. Anyway, as you can tell, this was written kind of further east. Sorry guys, but Springdale's got a couple of D-Stars listed. I don't know if they work or not, and then one at Joplin, Missouri, and there's probably some others around that I don't know about. The 144.45 is an interesting frequency at Joplin there, the 1 meg offset. NexEdge was jointly developed by Kenwood and ICOM. Kenwood NexEdge, if it's NexEdge, it's Kenwood product. If it's IDAS, it's an ICOM, and they both talk together. Both voice and data are supported, and the repeaters support up to 2 communication channels on a single RF circuit. Bartlesville has a NexEdge repeater. We'll get to in a minute. Equipment's it's probably not any NexEdge, probably not any pricier than DMR stuff is. Averaging several $100s. You can pick up a Kenwood NX 5700 on eBay for around $700-800 if you can find one of them. The portables are there. The other radios, they've got numerous other NexEdge models, and they're all over the place with price. Railroads are rumored to be considering transitioning to the NexEdge system for their operation. From what I have heard from my friends in the railroad industry, they've had problems going digital, and I think they're working on it, but it's not going to happen overnight with them. It does have IP networking capability, so that's what a lot of business, and that's why the railroad companies are really liking it, because the price is down there, and it has IP linking capabilities, which is very important for them. So far, it's been limited to Kenwood and ICOM transceivers, as far as I know, and then, of course, the AOR receiver will receive the signals. The listing for Bartlesville, the VHF repeater, is not there anymore. And what was the frequency, Johnny, again, on the NexEdge at Bartlesville?
442.275.
442.275, so that, I need to change that. 444.3 do what now?
It's the 444.255 is the one that's been changed.
Okay, yeah, that's wrong frequency on that. 442.275 at Bartlesville is the NexEdge repeater. And then, yes, sir?
Those NexEdge repeaters, they're just digital only, right?
They do FM, they'll do FM analog as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So far, the only one that only does digital would be the DMR, I think.
Yeah, the DMR also supports analog too. DMR repeaters will support analog.
That one is running in mixed mode, but it's down right now.
Okay.
The repeater's not down, the antenna's down.
The antenna's down. And 444.3 here at Tulsa or Owasso K5 LAD's got a listing for a NexEdge repeater, and I can't testify to whether it's working or not. The person would just have to try it. I don't have a UHF NexEdge radio in the pile. For interoperability concerns between the various modes, Fusion is limited to Yaesu for now, and I'm not aware of any method of digitally link to a non-Fusion product. That's been limited to Wires X. D-Star appears to be a similar situation. P25 and DMR appear to be linkable by digital methods. They offer IP linking, and I'm not sure with NexEdge. I suspect it probably can be too if a person wanted to invest the resources. Your modulation types that are being used, GMSK for Gaussian minimum shift keying, and then 4FSK is four-level frequency shift keying. C4FM is continuous 4-level FM. I called it something else earlier, but it's continuous 4-level FM, which is a special type of the 4FSK. There's a number of other types of modulation types out there. The modulation type is best referred to as the transport system. That is the system by which the information is transported. And differing modulation types are incompatible. So if you got a GMSK radio, it's not going to talk to a C4 FM or a 4 FSK radio. They'll see each other there, but they're not going to communicate. Codecs, this is the coding, decoding software. System Fusion, this is one codec, and you got P25, DMR, D-Star, NexEdge, and others. They don't talk to each other without some kind of link in between them. Codec is best described as the container in which the information is transported. It refers to coder, decoder, and it can be a hardware or a software product for encoding and decoding data streams. And the different codecs, as I mentioned, are not compatible without some kind of assistance. Equipment pricing, Fusion averaging roughly 140 up to about 500 bucks for the terminal radios. P25, as I mentioned, $300 to $5,000 or more. How much do you want to spend on them? You can get into 25 gear easy enough, in the neighborhood of $500 to $800. You can get into it. DMR pricing, we're seeing, so that number already inaccurate because we know now we got some radios down about 100 bucks.
Jason was talking earlier that he sells them regular price, his price, 105.
105.
The MD380.
TYT MD380, $105. You can get up close to $800 if you want to buy a Motorola XPR 7550. Yeah, real nice radio. D-Star pricing, I don't know for sure on it. About $1,000. There, yeah.
Icon, $1,000.
Yeah.
I think you can get a mobile icon built in there for three. It'll do
Let's say,
three to
yeah.
four maybe.
Yeah. So there you go, some prices. NexEdge equipment I'm seeing for about $400 to $700, give or take. DV4 Mobile. This is a radio that's out. It's not. It came down. I found out about it through through a Yahoo P25 group. Supports a lot of the digital voice modes, but not all of them. I don't really know a lot about it because there's just not a whole lot out there about the little rascal. It has limited functionality with P25. That is, it does not do the talk groups. It just does the P25 all call, which is 0x293, no talk group functionality whatsoever. You can change that network access code. The 0x293 that you saw with the P25 repeaters, I failed to mention, that is a network access code, which is a digital equivalent of a PL tone or CTCSS tone. Probably some other limitations with the DV4 Mobile. There's just not a lot out there right now. It has 20-watt transmitter. It is LTE cellular capable, so it can communicate over the cellular network. And it has a 10-100 Ethernet connection. And the price is to be announced. So I don't really know what it's going to cost right off the bat. The AR DV1, wide coverage, 100 kilohertz to 1.3 gigahertz. It does the digital modes. It does Fusion, NexEdge, DMR, a couple of flavors, P25, then in addition to the usual AM, FM, CW, and upper and lower sideband capabilities. $1,300 to $1,700 price tag new for them. You can catch them on eBay for less than that. They don't play well with scanners, from what I'm told. They're primarily a communication receiver. That's what it's made to do. So if you're looking for a scanner, there's other options out there. There's some final notes on this, if you will. See where we're at. About got 10 more minutes, less. Digital radios, well, they're here to stay, guys. I mean, it's coming, it's here. They're not to the exclusion of analog gear, but it's something we're going to have to work with. Firmware updating is just a requirement with these things. I hear a lot of problems with digital radios come right down to they're running an older firmware that just wasn't quite so well developed. You really got to update these things or to get rid of some of the problems. Sometimes we get bugs with the firmware updates. Sometimes we end up having to reverse one. It is legal. These modes are legal in amateur radio. There was some flack over DMR and the 2-slot TDMA, and that was brought to the attention of the FCC, and a rule-making process was executed rather quickly, and they took care of the problem. They had no problem with DMR. It's just something that had not been addressed with amateur radio, and the commission moved quickly to take care of that. What is not legal on amateur radio is encryption. We cannot do any kind of encryption. Now, that doesn't mean you can't use an encryption-capable radio. That just means it needs to be turned off on the amateur frequencies. FL Digi and its associated modes, that's a different suite of digital products. They use audio signals. They convert their digital information, goes to an audio signal for transmission over a regular analog radio, and doesn't have anything to do with the digital voice. With the one thing that has erupted with digital voice is, where is it legal to use on the amateur bands? And the answer is anywhere that phone traffic is permitted. Some people tried to make the argument saying, well, it converts it to a data stream, so we can use it in the data portion of the band, or even better, we can use it on the data portion of 10 meters, with a tech, or we can get outside of our band privileges with it because it's a data stream. Well, no, it's phone. If the parent, or if the initial traffic is a voice traffic or a phone type traffic, then it's considered phone, even if it does convert it to a data stream. And this came down from the FCC themselves. Sources I used were Wikipedia, DMR Association, Yaesu, Oklahoma Repeater Society Incorporated, repeaterbook.com. Any questions?